The Elder's warning had echoed through the galaxy for millennia. It was more than a caution, it was a law, spoken in hushed voices across every starfaring civilization. It was carved into ancient ruins, inscribed in the records of fallen empires, and whispered between diplomats who knew better than to question it. Asterisk. Do not provoke the humans. Asterisk. No one knew where the warning had come from. There were no records of battles, no official accounts of what had happened to the last civilization that ignored it. All that remained were the silent, lifeless husks of planets that should have been thriving but instead were nothing more than cosmic graveyards. Most species obeyed. The Galactic Council, the ruling body of known space, enforced the warning with unwavering discipline. Even the most aggressive warlords, the most expansionist empires, heeded the rule without question. But not him. High Warlord Zalvorin, ruler of the Drakthal Dominion, sat on the bridge of his command ship, studying the holographic projections before him. He had heard the warnings since childhood, had listened as elder strategists whispered tales of human might. And yet he had never seen proof, no great fleets, no conquests, no records of war. Just fear. Fear based on myths. To him, it was nothing more than a superstition, a ghost story used to keep weaker species in line. A smirk tugged at his mandibles as he watched his fleet mobilize. Massive warships, sleek and battle-worn, hovered in formation. Each vessel bristled with weapons capable of reducing entire planets to ash. His army had conquered a dozen systems with ease, crushing opposition in days. And now, they would crush humanity. A soft chime signaled the arrival of his war council. They hesitated before stepping forward, their movements stiff with unease. The oldest among them, Grand Strategist Vaktal, cleared his throat, voice heavy with caution. We have enough worlds to sustain the Dominion. There is no need to provoke a species the Council has marked as untouchable. Zalvorin leaned forward, his crimson eyes gleaming. Tell me, strategist, why do you fear them? Vaktal hesitated. Because no one knows what happened the last time. Exactly. Zalvorin waved a clawed hand. No records, no battles, no fleets lost. Just an empty myth. Humanity is weak. They hide behind council protections, hoping fear will keep them safe. But I am not afraid of shadows. Silence hung in the air, thick with tension. The strategists exchanged glances, but none dared challenge him further. He had made his decision. With a single command, the fleet surged forward, breaking through the void toward their target, New Terra, one of humanity's largest colonies. As the warships entered human space, alarms flared across the bridge. The planetary defense grid came online, launching a volley of automated countermeasures. Weak. Predictable. Within minutes, the orbital defenses were nothing but floating debris. Zalvorin watched with satisfaction as his forces descended upon the planet. Ground troops deployed in waves, overwhelming human settlements with ease. There was no sign of resistance. No military response. No fear. A single transmission flickered onto his screen. It was short. A single phrase, spoken in an emotionless, human voice. Asterisk. You have woken them. Asterisk. And then the signal cut out. Zalvorin barely paid attention to the message. Humans and their empty threats. His forces were already sweeping across New Terra, encountering no organized resistance. The colony streets were abandoned, buildings left untouched, as if the inhabitants had simply walked away. It was strange, but irrelevant. Victory was already his. Then, without warning, the fleet's long-range sensors went dark. Reports flooded in, ships vanishing from radar, communications cutting out mid-transmission. No explosions. No debris. Just silence. Zalvorin turned to his officers, demanding answers. The technicians scrambled, recalibrating systems, but the readings remained the same. Entire squadrons were gone, plucked from existence without a trace. His generals grew restless, their confident postures beginning to falter. Some suggested a retreat, a regrouping to reassess the situation. He silenced them with a glare. They had already won. The humans were merely playing their final tricks, trying to stall the inevitable. Then the screams began. The invasion force, once confident, was now in disarray. Ground units reported soldiers disappearing mid-step, weapons falling to the ground with no bodies left behind. Elite warriors, hardened by years of conquest, were sending panic distress signals before going silent. The fleet's command channels were flooded with reports of malfunctioning systems, ships shutting down with no warning, entire battalions ceasing to exist without a single shot fired. Zalvorin's mind raced for a rational explanation. Cloaked ships? Experimental weapons? The humans were not advanced enough for this level of warfare. The realization came too late. His flagship trembled as its systems flickered and failed. The crew shouted, trying to regain control, but the warlord already knew this was no technological failure. Something else was happening. And for the first time in his life, he felt fear. Zalvorin stood frozen, his mind refusing to accept what was unfolding before him. This was not a battle, it was a purge. His forces weren't being fought. They were being erased. He barked orders, demanding a full retreat, but no response came. His officers pounded controls, trying to activate hyperdrives, but the systems were dead. No damage. No interference. Just an absence, as if the technology itself had lost the will to function. A transmission flickered onto the main display. It wasn't from his fleet. It wasn't from his officers. It was human. A single figure stood in the center of a barren landscape, surrounded by the wreckage of what should have been his forces. They wore no armor, bore no weapons, yet Zalvorin knew this was the one responsible. The figure tilted its head, studying him through the screen. The voice that followed was calm, absent of malice or triumph. Asterisk. You were warned. Asterisk. Zalvorin roared, slamming his fist onto the console. What have you done? The figure remained still. We did nothing. You did this to yourself. The feed cut out. His flagship shuddered again. He turned to his officers, but they were already gone. Not dead. Not wounded. Just gone. Only empty uniforms remained where once there had been life. The warlord staggered back, his breath ragged. He was alone. His fleet, his army, his empire, vanished. Panic surged through him. He clawed at the control panel, desperate to call for aid. A final transmission left his ship, a desperate plea to the Galactic Council. The only reply was silence. The Galactic Council received the distress signal, but by the time they traced its origin, there was nothing left. No wreckage. No energy signatures. No evidence that the Drakthal fleet had ever existed. The might of an empire had been reduced to a footnote in history, a name that would soon fade like so many before it. The elders sat in silence, their expressions grim. They had seen this before. They had tried to warn them. A final transmission played before them, the last message received from Zalvorin's ship. A lone human stood against the void, unarmed, unarmored, untouched. Their voice was steady. Asterisk. This was a demonstration. Asterisk. The council chamber was deathly still. No one spoke, no one argued. The meaning was clear. Humanity had no need for war. They did not conquer, did not threaten, did not demand. They simply removed those who refused to listen. One of the younger diplomats broke the silence. What do we do? An elder, one of the few left who had survived the last time, spoke without looking up. Asterisk. We do nothing. Asterisk. The warning was no longer a myth. It was no longer a legend. It was truth. Across the galaxy, entire civilizations took heed. Treaties were signed. Wars were abandoned. Expansion slowed. No one dared speak of vengeance. No one sought justice. Because humanity had spoken. And they never warned twice.